WNST tying off to Indianapolis next week for all things NFL Combine. I famously keep inviting this guy out, but he's got something about the Indianapolis and the Colts and the horseshoe. Dennis Koulatsos joins us now from Coons Ford, Us Security Boulevard. And Dennis, I'll just say this, man. For 15 years, I got off a plane out there, and it always infuriated me. And my wife said, why do you go to the Combine? Why do you know, it's bad enough we play out there every 2 or 3 years, and you get all worked up, and you go down to that mall, and you see that Colts store, and you get all worked up. And I let it go, and I really, it does feel like pictures of my far ex-wife that don't bother me anymore to some degree. But Indianapolis still bothers you. I know it does.
It does. You know, I'm going to give you and Luke a wreath to take up there to the stadium, perhaps a bouquet of a dozen black roses to lay there on the front steps, because I still have very, very bad feelings about that town, the organization as a whole. Look, go ahead and move, but don't take our colors and our history. At least when we took the Browns from Cleveland, we let them keep those hideous colors and all their records. But, you know, to me, the best-looking uniform in the NFL still is the one that the Colts have. You know, there's nothing like that crisp blue and white uniform with a horseshoe. That still brings back emotions and memories, and it's definitely in the wrong place. Also, the other thing is the people of Indianapolis, they deserve a fresh start with their own colors, their own records, their own team. Those items should have been left here in Baltimore.
Well, I agree with that, and that's a deed undone now 34 years later. And, hey, we're going back to the Hall of Fame, though, right? So, You know, why not? And the hardest part is visiting Johnny U under the Colts logo, but that is who he played. That is the franchise he played for.
Sure.
You know, for me, the Indianapolis thing, I've come to grips with it, and the second dome now that we sit in all next week and watch the Underwear Olympics. I know what a fan of the Combine and the draft you are, which is why I half kid you about going out there to be a part of this thing. It's gotten as big as life, right? You put on the NFL Network next week. It's a whole 10-day presentation. You know, thoughts about the Ravens, because this is as important a combine, as important a draft as they're going to have for John's future, for Eric DeCosta, who is taking over next year, and Ozzie Newsome, who is stepping down, for the organization to win and win big during this draft and this combine.
Yeah, I think it's a great draft for the Ravens. It's deep in the positions where they have great needs. It's very deep at wide receiver. It's very deep at tight end. They have a nice selection of offensive linemen. So on the offensive side of the ball, I mean, there's a lot of quality players. Also, some decent cornerbacks if they want to venture in the later rounds. Look, it's going to be full of surprises as always, but if we're to believe what Steve Bisciotti said at his press conference for the second year in a row, and that is to get Joe Flacco with some real weapons this time around, they have to take shots, Nestor. They have to get out of their comfort zone, and as Bisciotti alluded to, look, maybe they overanalyze the top 60 players, but they're sure to get 2 of those guys. Look, and take what you want out of what he meant by saying that, but look, at some point they got to take the right player that fits a need, not a defensive tackle, as he said. You can bet it won't be this guy Vita Vea from Washington, the defensive tackle. It should be an offensive player, but I wouldn't be shocked if it's an inside linebacker, or a free safety, or a corner that they like a lot. You know, perhaps a top 10 player that slips, which I think it's likely because of the quarterbacks. There are 6 quarterbacks that should go in the first round, and 5 of them could potentially be gone by the time the Ravens get on the clock at number 16.
Well, if you say 5 are gone, you usually mean 6 are gone, because
there's a run.
You know, the run happens on the QBs.
Yeah.
Man, I can't imagine them going defense, right? Like, I don't.
I can.
And look, they don't have rabbit ears about any of this. They go and Ozzie does what Ozzie does, and Eric does what Eric does, and they pick the best player and all that stuff. But I would find it hard to believe that we're going to be talking about offense the next, 60, 80 days leading up to the draft, right? And they would actually come off the board with somebody defensively on Thursday night. That would shock me. The one thing that I'm interested in is the running back position, as to whether we believe that that's not a need for the team right now in some way.
Yeah, I certainly don't believe it's a need with Alex Collins there, with Ken Dixon coming back off of his 10-game suspension. I think they're deep enough at running back. I think they will look at offensive line before they will look at running back. I mean, we have Zeus's son, Orlando Brown Jr. He's up there to be picked, but there's another tackle, Mike McGlinchey from Notre Dame. A little bit better feet, can play right or left tackle. Look, if he's there at number 16 and he's the best player available, I'm all for keeping Joe Flacco upright and opening up holes for Collins and Dixon and everybody else that they have back there. So I'm an offensive line first type of a guy. I think they make your running backs look good, make your quarterbacks look even better. So, look, I wouldn't be shocked if it was an offensive tackle at number 16.
Dennis Koulatsos joining us here from Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. And of course, they sponsor our WNST Tech service. Any breaking news? We had the Tillman news the other day. Machado, I'm sure there'll be some Ravens news here coming up. You said something about taking chances on wide receivers in the draft, and I agree with you, okay? I mean, there's no disagreement in taking those players, but they are always projects, you know?
Sure, they are.
And that means they're not going to be helping John Harbaugh this time around. I don't know what the market is. I don't know where the money is. I don't know what their value is on the Eric Weddles and the Terrell Suggs and the sort of long-in-the-tooth guys and how much cap space they have and where they would be. But if you don't get a wide receiver off the market, you're not going to get help this year. If you don't get an established, and that's not to say Jeremy Maclin, that didn't work out, or Mike Wallace has sort of kind of worked out, and Anquan Bolden did work out, as did Torrey Smith, but not right away. I feel like they have to bring in a name of a guy I have heard of in order for me to believe in a wide receiver this year in making an impact on this team, having the kind of offense that's going to win 11 or 12 games.
Yeah, I don't disagree with it. I just don't see where the money's going to come from. They're going to have to certainly restructure some contracts, some of the players that you just mentioned, to create some cap space. But they also have to re-sign Ryan Jensen. I can't imagine they're going to let Jensen go off of that offensive line. Centers are hard to come by, particularly one that got a high grade from Pro Football Focus. He's going to command a salary between $8 and $9 million a year. And to me, look, he fits the run game, the run scheme perfectly, and I can't see them not investing money in Ryan Jensen. If they allow Ryan Jensen to leave, that leaves a huge gaping hole at center, and
that's one more thing they got to worry about.
Yeah, it's one more thing. So I don't know if they value Matt Skura, if they think he can go in there and do the job. But look, Jensen's an alpha male. He's out there protecting Joe Flacco's back. You know, he sets the tone. He blocks from whistle to whistle. Great run blocker, fits the scheme well. So if I'm them, as much as I want a wide receiver off the free agent market, I take my chances with the draft. I draft. My first 3 draft picks, Nestor, 2 would be wide receivers, whether it's 1 and 2, 1 and 3, or 2 and 3. But my objective, if I'm DaCosta and Ozzie, I want to come out of there with 2 wide receivers out of my first 3 picks, and maybe a tight end in there, whether I take the tight end in the second round or the third round. Keep in mind,
well, tight ends are wide receivers in this game.
Yeah, they really are. So the big wide receivers, right? So they're going to get a compensatory draft pick for, I believe, Rick Wagner. Should be another third-round pick. So they should have 1 in the first, 1 in the second, and 2 in the third. So that's 4 players in the top 100. If they have got to hit, they've got to use the same formula that the Saints did. The Saints have rebuilt their team the last 2 drafts. They hit on almost every player. They got to stop missing in rounds 2 and 3. That's been the difference, and sometimes also in round 1 the last 3 or 4 years, as we all know.
Dennis Koulatsos from Coons Ford of Security Boulevard joining us here talking all things Ravens as Luke and I get ready to go to Indianapolis next week for the Underwear Olympics, of course. You were so busy this week selling cars, we had to move things around. I mean, It's getting crazy around here. When you say President's Day sale, I think you mean that out there, don't you?
Absolutely. We were here until almost midnight. Monday, the night of the sale, and started off early. We had our first customer out the door at 8:30 in the morning. We started early in Austin and sold a lot of cars, trucks, SUVs, and pre-owned vehicle. Look, we have the best prices on the East Coast, sometimes in the U.S., and people know that. They shop on the web. They know what our deals are, our online reputation. They come here. They save a ton of money, and they leave better than the way they came in.
Well, I've seen the TV commercials, and Crystal's wearing the Olympic goggles stuff. I'm thinking, why doesn't Dennis get to wear those just on the web?
No.
I mean, you should call out for those, and I want to see what you look like in a skeleton helmet. You know what I mean?
I think Crystal looks better. I think she looks great in those commercials, and I really like the hockey commercial that she does. I think she looks great in that as well.
Well, but I'm saying all that gear would look good on you too. I'm not on tele. I'm just saying on the web, you should put the goggles on and say, "Come in," and we'll do the ski jump together.
Well, Nestor, I have a face for radio, so that's why they keep me. That's why Crystal gets that gig, and I get to stay here at the store.
I see you sitting on things over there on your Facebook page and sitting in cars sometimes. I'm just saying, I saw the TV commercials, and I thought, well, these are very Winter Olympic oriented.
They are.
Every time I watch the Winter Olympics, I say to my wife, this isn't like an Olympic. This is like how to die if you make a mistake. I mean, It's unbelievable how X-gamey all of it's gotten, right? When you watch the Olympics these days.
Yeah, it is. I guess it appeals to the younger generation. For me, I can't wait for the Summer Olympics, track and field, boxing, stuff like that I like to watch. I'll watch the Olympics in the winter if there's nothing else on TV, but I can't wait for the Summer Olympics this year.
If there are judges involved, and no disrespect to your boxing sport as well, and I've talked a lot of boxing with the death of Scott Wagner this week, I don't like judges. That's if I were to write a book about sports all these years in, I would say if there are judges involved, I don't like it. I don't trust it. I like time sports. I like measured sports. I like something where they keep score. And even then, I think basketball can be very, very dominated by officials. And obviously, the strike zone in baseball, and obviously throwing a flag that's a 50-yard penalty in the NFL. All of those kind of things are always going to be under scrutiny. But I don't like judges,
Most certainly. We recently hired a salesperson, Charmaine Mitchell. You may recognize the name, a two-time welterweight champ out of Tacoma Park, Maryland. When he retired from boxing, he started selling cars, wanted something to do, and he loved cars. And speaking to him, 73 fights, 67 wins. It's been eye-opening because he's given me some behind-the-scenes things of what happens during one's boxing career.
Well, there you have it.
He's giving me some things that'll make your head swing, and I'm like, wow, you got to be kidding me. And Don King is a friend of his. He's got pictures of himself with Muhammad Ali and all kind of memorabilia. Just a really interesting guy to talk to.
By the way, they're putting Sugar Ray Leonard into the Boxing Hall of Fame down at Michael's 8th Avenue, April something. Because I've been talking a lot about Scott.
Yeah.
So Sugar Ray's coming to Anne Arundel County in a month and a half. So there you have it.
He's got a picture of himself. Charmaine does between himself and Sugar Ray and Marvin Hagler. Those guys really did not like each other, didn't want to be next to each other, and that's the only picture of those two guys existing together anywhere near each other he has, which I think is great.
Where they weren't beating each other up at Caesar's Palace or something like that.
That's correct. So there's a lot of true animosity there, and it wasn't for show. That one was real. The hate was real.
You know what I loved about the and anybody can look this up. The Hagler-Leonard fight out in Caesars, I guess about 87 is when it happened. And Phil Jackman was ringside. Phil is in every shot. You know what I mean? Phil was sitting there as a reporter, and so my dear friend Phil Jackman. So ringside back in the day. That's the way Baltimore brought it back in the day.
Yep, that was good stuff, man. Put a pen behind or pencil behind the ear, sitting there taking notes like crazy.
Dennis will be here on Thursday from 3 until 5, driving you home. It is the SSV on WNST, and of course sponsoring our Coons Ford of Security Boulevard text service for any breaking news. I keep saying to people we're going to deal with Manny Machado, but it's not going to happen, Den. Not going to happen.
Yeah, well, you know what? I don't think it's going to happen either. It doesn't seem like the tea leaves are going to go that way. Look, hopefully Manny does some great things and changes someone's mind over there in Angelos' camp. Maybe they can find the money to sign a young man and really energize this town.
Yeah, if he hits 248, they can afford it.
You know what? He just made the way he's been streaking his career. But look, I'd like to see what the plan is. Right now, they're up in the air. I don't know if they want to make Brady Anderson the GM at some point and then be done with it, but it's really interesting to watch this franchise, how they operate.
If I just took it at that value, right? My emotions, I've been sucked out of it. Obviously, to anybody that listens to me understands that part of it. But it is a fascinating how Rome fell over the last 25 years, right? Just for what's going to happen here, what's ahead this summer for a completely somnambulant, empty stadium on most nights. They're going to either give Machado away or not, and either way, it's going to be the wrong move, right? And they're probably not going to win. So, I
don't think they're going to give him away. I think they've done a decent job with trading players. I don't think they're going to give him away, Nestor. I don't think that.
At all. In other words, they're going to get nothing for him.
Well, we shall see.
Hey, we beat up the football owner. We have no problem doing that, right?
No, not well. The baseball owner. It's at some point. It's like I don't know what kind of analogy I can give you, but it's like beating up something that's already passed away. It's pointless.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, we beat up Bisciotti, and I know the tread is still long, but it's been 5 years since I smelled the parade, but it hasn't been never.
No, at least look, the team's been competitive, as he's quick to point out. One play here, one play there. So at least they've been entertaining to watch. Frustrating as heck sometimes, yes, but very entertaining. They're always in the games. Rarely do they ever get blown out. So at least they're in the conversation during the last week of the season, whereas the Orioles, as we've seen in many, many years. By the All-Star break, they're done.
By the way, the season ticket renewals are coming out soon. We'll talk about that next week, Dan, all right?
You got it, sir.
Dennis Koulatsos, the Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. He'll be here on Thursday, driving you home from 3 until 5. It is the SSV on WNST, and, of course, sponsoring our tech service. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.